We begin in the 7th century on the Arabian Peninsula. The Arabs embark on a series of conquests, and within a century, they establish a vast caliphate extending from Central Asia to the Iberian Peninsula. The Mediterranean Sea itself finds itself divided, with Muslims in the south and Christians in the north. The Christians themselves are divided between the Latin Church in the west and the Greek Orthodox Church, primarily present in the Eastern Roman Empire, known today as the Byzantine Empire. The situation stabilizes, and the Christians manage to make their pilgrimage to Jerusalem, the holy city for the three major monotheistic religions. At the end of the 10th century in Central Asia, a Turkish leader named Seljuk settles in Transoxiana and adopts Sunni Islam. Later, his descendants, known as the Seljuk Turks, conquer Shiite Persia and then take Jerusalem from the Fatimid Caliphate, which is also Shiite. This results in restrictions and persecution for Christian pilgrims. To the north, the Turks also settle in Anatolia, up to the gates of Constantinople. Emperor Alexios I Komnenos seeks help from the west. Pope Urban II sees an opportunity to expand his authority in the east and convenes a council at Clermont. There, he delivers a fiery speech calling on Christians to go and liberate the holy places from Islamic rule, promising forgiveness of sins for those who do so. Thousands prepare themselves, sewing crosses onto their clothing, which earns them the name Crusaders. Several groups set out separately. On one side, there is a crusade led by the nobles, consisting primarily of well-armed and well-equipped knights. On the other, there is the so-called People's Crusade, made up mainly of non-combatants, including women and children. Some of these less-equipped groups begin plundering along the way and start massacring Jews, blaming them for the death of Christ. However, when they reach Hungary, the local army wipes them out. Alexios I takes responsibility for the survivors of the People's Crusade and shelters them in a camp at Civitate, on the other side of the Bosporus. But here, too, the Crusaders begin plundering the surrounding area, reaching the gates of Nicaea, the capital of the Turkish Sultanate of Rum. In response, the local forces launch a counterattack and annihilate them. The Byzantine fleet returns around 2,000 survivors to Constantinople, where they are joined by the noble Crusader armies that departed later. Alexios I, who had hoped to receive mercenary aid, is surprised and frightened when he sees the arrival of a real Latin army. He then negotiates with the Crusaders for the territories they would conquer. In 1097, the crusade departs from Constantinople. After the fall of Nicaea, they reach the gates of the great city of Antioch, where they begin a long and difficult siege. Despite the fact that the Seljuk Empire is huge on paper, it is in reality divided into several emirates in constant competition. Antioch receives little help from its neighbors. After a 7-month siege, the city falls. The Crusaders then take Myrat al-Numan, where they commit a horrific massacre. Soon, fear of the Crusaders spreads, causing many cities to surrender to avoid a similar fate. To the south, the Fatimid Egypt seizes the opportunity to reclaim Jerusalem and offers a peace proposal to Crusaders, promising them full freedom of worship in the city. However, the offer is rejected, and the Crusaders reach the gates of the city and begin their siege. On July 15, 1099, Jerusalem falls. The Muslim and Jewish inhabitants of the city are slaughtered, with the scale of the massacre varying by source. Without the support of Alexios I, the Crusaders do not concede any territory and establish their own Latin states, such as the county of Edessa, the Principality of Antioch, and the Kingdom of Jerusalem, headed by Godfrey of Bouillon. However, Godfrey soon dies, and his brother Baldwin of Bouillon takes his place. With the end of the First Crusade, many knights return to Europe, leaving Crusader armies much smaller in number. The Pope then attempts to reinforce them by launching a new crusade, but during their crossing of Anatolia, 3 separate groups are wiped out. Nevertheless, the Crusader states manage to fend off many Fatimid attacks in the south and take advantage of the divisions and conflicts among the Seljuk princes to expand and consolidate their holdings. They also rely on the maritime republics of Pisa, Genoa, and Venice, which supply them with provisions via the sea and intend to exploit the situation to seize new trade markets in the region. In 1109, the wealthy city of Tripoli falls, and its vast library is burned, establishing the county of Tripoli. On the coast, Only Tyre and Ascalon resist the Crusader armies, while in the interior, peace is established with Aleppo and Damascus. In 1115, a powerful army from Baghdad arrives to expel the Crusaders and extend its control in the region. Aleppo and Damascus, unwilling to fall under Baghdad's rule, stand with the Crusader armies to repel the attack. As the situation stabilizes to some extent, the Knights Hospitaller are established to care for pilgrims, and a militia of knights is created to protect them. These knights settle at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, earning them the name Knights Templar. In the north, Antioch is in constant conflict with the Byzantine Empire, which seeks to reclaim the city. In 1143, Baldwin III ascends the throne of Jerusalem at just 13 years old, under the regency of his mother, Melisende. The governor of Aleppo and Mosul, Zengi, exploits the instability to launch a surprise siege of Edessa, which falls within a month. Upon hearing of this, the Pope launches a new crusade. This time, England joins the effort. Along the way, they stop to assist the Portuguese king in conquering Lisbon. The Germans, led by Conrad III of the Holy Roman Empire, and the French, led by Louis VII, proceed separately eastward, with the Germans leading the way. In Anatolia, both armies are continuously harassed by the Turks and suffer defeats. The surviving forces eventually reach Jerusalem by sea. However, instead of heading to Edessa, they attack Damascus, their best ally in the region, against Nur ad-Din, the son of Zengi, who had inherited Aleppo and Edessa. The siege fails, and the kings, frustrated by their failure, return to Europe. Nur ad-Din takes advantage of the situation and seizes Damascus, unifying Muslim Syria. After Baldwin III's death, his brother Almaric assumes the throne. Meanwhile, two revolutions in Egypt occur within a year. Almaric exploits the situation to begin his invasion of the Fatimid Caliphate. However, the deposed minister flees to Syria to seek help from Nur ad-Din. The latter, not wanting to see Egypt fall into Christian hands, sends his best general, Shirkuh. After several years of battles, truces, changing alliances and arrangements, Shirkuh installs himself as the new vizier of Egypt. 2 months later, he dies, and his nephew, Saladin, succeeds him, ending the Shiite Fatimid Caliphate and establishing the Ayyubid state. In 1174, within just 2 months, both Nur ad-Din and Almaric die from illness, leaving young sons to inherit the thrones. Saladin takes advantage of the situation and, within less than 10 years, succeeds in unifying Egypt and Syria. In 1185, Baldwin IV dies from leprosy at the age of 24, and the following year his heir, Baldwin V, dies at the age of 7.